Hello and welcome to Jennifer Knatters. I am Jennifer and this is episode 57 of my Knitting and Nattering video podcast. Thank you for joining me today. This will be a regular podcast. I did do a slightly different one last week. No knitting content, I was just beyond myself with anxiety, and so I just needed to sit down and talk to myself, really, but talk to you through the medium of my video podcast of talking to my phone. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. Talk to you, hopefully, through my phone. Connect with other people and just let some of that anxiety out. Fortunately, oh my goodness, amazingly, there was a good outcome. Biden and Harris fortunately won that election, and the fact that it was close is... Anyway, this week, is for feeling relieved and being happy, and yeah, Friday, when shortly after I woke up, Georgia turned blue, and then that afternoon right before I went to get my kids from school, Pennsylvania turned blue, and I was excited and really jittery, and then the next day, Saturday, I was back to being and just feeling really out of sorts and weird again. And then when the CNN and AP News finally called it for Biden, and Fox News eventually did as well, I didn't feel happy. I honestly just felt like a marionette and someone had cut the strings, because I was sat at my table and I had my teacup, my ever-present teacup, and I was just I rested my head on that and my arms were just slumped on the table, and I was just oh my goodness. And that's kind of where I was for a while. And it has still just been such an emotional week last week, and then they announced they might have a potentially working vaccine this week, and I've just been so emotionally wrung out. And I don't even live in the US. I'm as insulated from this as a person. I'm white. I live in a different country. The worst parts of this election were not going to affect me, and it was still that emotional for me. I can only imagine for people for whom this was very, very personal, with literally their lives on the chopping block, how emotional that was. And obviously there's lots of work to do, and I don't downplay that, but yeah. Thank goodness. And politics very much belongs in knitting. Here in the UK, we are gearing up for Brexit. This is not my happy smile. And the politics of that is having a big impact. I follow a lot of yarn dyers. There's people who make project bags and stitch markers and all sorts of things like that. Being out of the European Union is going to make shipping to the EU very, very complicated. It's going to add a lot of fees for people who would be looking to buy yarn. I never buy yarn from the US because the import duties are exorbitant. And the idea that people in the EU are now going to be looking at UK yarn dyers and say, well, I can't buy that with the extra duties is absolutely a thing. The extra time it takes to do all the process, the paperwork, and keep track of what countries you owe VAT. You collect the VAT, but then you have to give it back, turn it over to the government of whatever country. That's a lot of paperwork. That's a lot of record keeping. Politics is everything. Politics is everyday life, and if you think politics isn't, then it's because the politics are currently supporting your life. They are reinforcing the life you want or that you are currently living. Politics is everything. It's every day. So if you are a let's keep politics out of knitting, then my podcast is not for you. And I don't mean you're not going to like my podcast. I mean, it is not for you. I am not making this for your entertainment. Go away. Just go away. Go find something else. You'll be fine. There's lots out there. Go find someone else to watch. This is not for you. If you do understand that politics affects everyone's life constantly, and you happen to like knitting, this is the podcast for you. Or, if you also happen to like my podcast. Okay, I'm just really, like I said, I've been so nervous and I'm still very jittery, and I've been like dehydrated and headachy and disassociated-y and stomach achy and like just everything. So I'm a bit, I mean everything I said, so I'm not going to restart this. But now we can get on with the knitting. I have some finished objects this week. I actually, in the last 2 weeks, because I was working mostly on small things, got some stuff done. Last week I had showed the Pusheen Pullover that I was working on for my 7-year-old as a work in progress because I hadn't sewn the seams together yet. I sewed the seams together, in fact, before I even got the podcast online. So there is a picture at the end of it of the finished object. I will add a picture in of it here. And so that is the finished Pusheen Pullover, which I knit the extra small size for my 7-year-old. The arms are way too long. Otherwise, it fits her reasonably well in an oversized way. She does like having really long arms. She's discovered that you can kind of just keep your hands inside the sleeves and then you can be cozy and warm, and she really likes that. So not a problem. She's deliriously happy with it. I think up close you can see a lot of things that aren't brilliant. From any distance, it just looks good. I think I can be happy to have her out in the world, happy wearing that, and she does wear it. She wears it basically every day. I washed it over the weekend and I got, the water was brown. It was really gross. You couldn't see dirt on it. It just clearly had collected dirt. So it's clean again, and I have sent her back out into the world. She's wearing it today. She didn't get to wear it yesterday because it was still drying, but she's wearing it today. Very excited, very happy. Loves the pattern. That is a really good knit. Having finished that, I cast on a Flax Light for my 3-year-old, and I did show it last time. I had started it and I was almost, I don't have a stitch marker anymore because it is finished. But I had just about got to where I was gonna put the sleeve stitches on hold, and then I knit the body, and I got about halfway through the cake and realized I should probably start striping in the second ball and save some for the sleeves. And you can see the second skein did have some more of these darkest splodges, so those show up in the middle, and then there aren't too many more of them because I think it was just one end of the skein had a bit more of the darker splodges. So then I had, I think it was 24 or 26 grams or something like that left. So I went back and knit the sleeves. And Catherine, my 3-year-old, said she wanted short sleeves, so I had her try it on, and that was just about perfect. And then on one of them, just for the sleeve, I had to add on a little, I don't even know which sleeve it is. I've got a feeling it's this one because this one just feels like the edge is just a tiny bit darker to me. But I just had to basically do the cuff, do the cast off in the second skein, and then I went back and kept knitting down the front. And this is tunic length. My oldest child has fairly standard proportions. She's a bit on the slender side. I'm sorry if you can hear that. I've got the laundry going. Our washing machine was broken half of last week and through the weekend, so today I have to do all the laundry. but yeah, her my older one, very standard proportions, been on the slender side. My younger one has a very long torso for her height, so I made it a tunic length one, and then I do have, again, like 20 grams of yarn left, so if we need to at some point, I can go back and make the sleeves a little longer for her. But this should be really good on her because you can't really see a lot of dirt, whether it's paint splatters or whatever she gets into. Hopefully this will cover it. And it's very bright and cheerful and rainbowy, so I think she'll like it. So that's my second finished object since last we recorded. And I have a third finished object. I finished my relaxed knit-along socks. And this is a Kate Atherley, did a free knit-along on Twitter where every couple of days she just tweeted the next set of instructions. And she says she is going to write up the pattern, and it'll be a paid pattern that you can buy. And this is really neat. This is a standard 3x1 rib, and this is a really neat 3x rib that is super stretchy. I mean, you can kind of see they're not fitting on the sock blockers really well. I should have done a smaller size. These are a bit too big. I mean, like, look at that is. But I love this stretchy rib, and I would absolutely do it. I mean, the cuffs are the least stretchy bit of the sock. But I made them, they'll just be a little baggy. They're just a little baggy right here is what it is. Because I wound up, they were so stretchy that I moved an extra repeat. Instead of doing half the stitches and half the stitches, I moved extra stitches into the heel and then decreased them away here, is how I dealt with the fact that they're a bit big. And they are still a bit roomy side to side. That's fine. That's just what they are. They're ribbed, so they do stay on still. They'll just be nice and warm because the ribbing will create little air pockets that'll keep my feet warm. I did a nice long cuff, a nice long leg. I love them. So this is the Kate Atherley pattern. I didn't tell you what the yarn was in the last. We'll finish this and we'll go back and do the other jumper. This is Ripples Crafts Reliable Sock Yarn, which is a favorite amongst my household, and by household I mean me. Ripples Craft Reliable Sock Yarn. This is the Oyster Catcher's Beak and Feet, and this is a deep stash skein that I think might even have been a one-off color. So this one's not available. It was something like lettuce or spring greens or something. I do have a pair of socks I've knit in this, so this is just leftover, just a scrap that I had. But they're my pumpkin socks because they're pumpkins with a little stem on top. And they're wonderful. And because I am American and Thanksgiving hasn't happened yet, I can still use pumpkin stuff. I can still do autumn decorations. Although having taken down the Halloween stuff, my house looks kind of naked. It looks very empty and plain, and I do not have much in the way of Thanksgiving decorations. So I'm kind of tempted to start putting up the Christmas stuff. The fairy lights are not a Christmas decoration in our household. They are a winter, they're basically, once you hit solstice, they need to be up. And then they usually, I don't need them so much. In the summer, we get our extra, in the summer, after, they're an equinox thing. After equinox, we put them up. After solstice, winter solstice, most of the daylight hour that we pick up, we get several minutes a day, is in the afternoon. The mornings continue to be dark later for a while. So in the afternoons, you get a lot of light. So I don't tend to need them even like past the end of January. But this time of year, even before time changes and certainly after time changes, it's really dark. It is dark 4 o'clock. I think the sunset right now around 4:15, but it has been pretty gloomy. The sun has come out behind us a little bit, but if I look out the windows on the sides of it, you can kind of see right here, we're in a patch of sunlight, but there's grayish clouds overhead. So it's dark and dreek and gloomy, and I need my lights. And I'm thinking I might need more Christmas stuff because it has just been a terrible year and I need happy things. Hello, nice. It is later me. Sorry, I forgot to mention 2 other little finished objects I have, and they are these cute little house ornaments. And there's this one, and this one I haven't put a hanging thing on it. You can also, there's instructions for a pattern, and these are 2 of the 3 mini hats in the Bedecked pattern by Hunter Hammersen. I did these as a test knit. This one's, it's almost this bright in person too. I hear yelling from the other room. I did it as a test knit and it came out today. I have to go. So that's it for my finished objects. I do have some work in progress, and they are all new things that I have cast on. Let's start with socks. Having finished those socks last night, I cast on Christmas socks. And I think these are winter socks, not Christmas socks. They're not overtly Christmassy. This is this year's West Yorkshire Spinners Christmas color, which is Silent Night, and as you can see, it is sparkly. And I know Stellina is not great for the environment, but these socks will last a long time and they will not wind up in landfill, or at least certainly not anytime soon. They will be patched and things like that. And I'm getting it tangled on the end, but I've just done a little bit, and these are a nice wintry blues and snowy, and they're just a nice color. And I've got them in my little gray girl, one of her winter bags. Can't remember if it was last year or the year before I got this. And again, this is just a winter one, not really a Christmassy one. So I cast those on because they were nearby. It's just a vanilla pattern off the top of my head. But I do have, this is last year's Christmas color, which they've done this year in a Stellina version. And this is Fairy Lights. And then this is like mint apple or something, apple or mint, or anyway, it's the green for the cuffs, heels, and toes. And this one, the second sock I knit, is just fine. As you can see, this is called Fairy Lights, and it's got the little patches of the colors. This is the first one I did. These are top down. I did an extra, that's where the heels are. I did an extra repeat. This one was supposed to be the same length, but then I missed a repeat. So this one is a repeat longer. And then I dropped a stitch before the heel here. And then when I went to wear them, I found I had dropped a stitch after the heel here. So what I'm going to do is just rip them back to this red one. So go up one color repeat to just above this. So right there, I'll rip it back to there, redo. I can't remember if I did a short row or an afterthought. Oh, this one's an afterthought heel. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, they're both afterthought heels. So I will just redo all the way down, and then I will have matching socks. And I only have to knit half a sock, so these really should move to the top of the queue, because if I knit half a sock, I have a pair I can wear. Yeah, I discovered I knit these last year for Christmas, and then I was like, can't fix them, can't make me, not gonna do it. I will just set those aside for next year. And so next year I get to knit them, and then I will move on with my life and have socks. But yeah, seasonal things, if they don't get finished for the season, can just be set aside for the following year, and you can do them for that season. Don't have to feel like you have to fix them right then. My other new cast on, having knit a jumper for each of my children, I started a jumper for me. And this will be a V-neck pullover, and it is black floofy yarn on black needles. I did try on one of my metal pairs needles. I can't remember if it was my Chiagos or my Hayahayas, but the yarn was just so slippy that I needed wood or carbon, and I had the carbons in the size. So black needles, black cords, black yarn. Just for fun, I added a black stitch marker. This is, I can't remember, Jen's Crafty Charms, I think is the Etsy shop. But yeah, picking up stitches to do this, and it was the pattern design. It is Joan by Christelle Nihoul. Sorry. Crystal LK is her kind of her design name, but it's a garter tab, and then you pick up the stitches, and then you cast on more stitches to be the shoulders, and then you do short rows, and then you do the other side, and then you pick up the stitches on the front and do short rows. And there's a lot of picking up stitches and finding the short rows in this black fuzzy yarn. This is the recommended yarn. It is Drops Sky, which is an alpaca chainette. I don't know if you can kind of see that. It's a chainette style ply. So there's lots of little bits to get your needles stuck in to split the yarn. This is the recommended yarn. It is obviously not the recommended color. She knit hers in a lovely blush pink. I do not look good, and I would look naked in a blush pink. I would honestly, people would look at me and think there was just a large naked woman running down the street. She looks lovely. I do not. And this is the first pattern in her plus only range. Her normal pattern range is a 34 to 36 up to a 52 to 54 inch bust. And this one is a 45 inch bust to a 63 inch bust. So she's only come up with one so far, but she does say she wants to specifically do patterns for the larger end of the dress scale. And this is the first one she did, so I bought it when it first came out, and then I ordered the yarn when it first came out, and now I'm finally knitting it with my little kitty cat. Look at how cute that is. Oh, such a cute little kitty cat. I love the jumper. I am absolutely certain that when I have finished it, I will wear it a lot. It'll be lightweight and cozy and warm. But knitting on it, I basically can only work on it when I can sit down and kind of concentrate for a little while. There is a bit of a lace pattern. And I think once I split for the seat, once I'm past the lace, it'll just be smooth sailing, because this does join up to be in the round. So then knitting round and round, some waist shaping, sleeves, some decreasing. It's just right now when I'm having to go back and forth and keep track of what round of the chart I'm on and make sure I'm doing my increases for the shoulders. Right now, it is not easy. This is a thing I have done to myself. I have only myself to blame. So yeah, that's kind of it for knitting. I've kind of already talked about the US election. I even touched a bit on the weather. It has been really foggy these last couple of mornings. It is burned off now, but it's still just a little misty out there. And that has felt really like my childhood home. Sorry about that. I got a wee tickle in my throat, and then the washing machine started beeping to say it was done. And since it's just right over there, I thought I would rotate the laundry really quickly. I've been running around just a little bit. Anyway, I was starting to say the weather's been really dreek, and I've really liked it. If you don't know, I am from the redwood forests in California, the coastal redwoods, and they are a rainforest, a temperate rainforest, not because of rainfall, but because of the fog rolls in, and then the leaves are specially designed to pull the moisture out of the air and then cause it to drip down onto the ground where the roots then can then pull it up. So if you're under a tree, you get a lot more rainfall, a lot more precipitation than you do, you know, if you're in the middle of a field. Not that we have fields in the mountainous rainforest, redwood forests. But yeah, if you're under a tree, you would get a much higher rate of precipitation than you would if you stood in the middle of the road. And when I was walking my 7-year-old to school yesterday morning, when we went under the trees, all of a sudden it felt like it was raining. Water was dripping down, and it was just because the precipitation was condensing on the trees and then dripping down, and it felt so much like home. It was really in a nice way. I don't get homesick much. I don't have any desire to ever go back to the US, even without Trump. I love Scotland. This is my home. This is my children's home. This is my husband's home. We've all settled here, and well, my children are born here. But I really love Scotland. But it was just comforting. It wasn't homesick, it was comforting. It was very familial, and it felt really nice. And I realized it is November, and I hadn't brought in my geraniums yet, because otherwise if it freezes, they don't like that. That kills them. So I brought them in, and my 3-year-old this morning was like, "Ah, the conservatory has extra flowers in it." So I don't know, like, I moved this rose over here. I don't know why it's still blooming. It's just happy this year. And I added the geraniums, and so it looks a little extra green in here, which is always nice. But yeah, it's autumn, and I need more autumn things. I want to do a big autumn quilt now. I was watching FlossTube. I just discovered FlossTube, and I think FlossTube is just adorable. It is cross-stitch embroidery, working with embroidery floss YouTube channels. Anyway, one of the floss tubers, and I don't remember which one, because I was just like binging. Most of the knitting podcasts had gone over to, what is it they call it? No, Vlogtober. And we're doing just little snippets every day, and that's not for me. I'm very happy other people are happy with it. One of the other people I watch was saying that she picked up a whole bunch of new subscribers over Vlogtober. I'm very happy for everyone else to enjoy that. It isn't for me. So I was watching FlossTube, and I was finding a bunch of new floss tubers. Anyway, one of the ladies I was watching was saying that she was working on an autumnal cross stitch, and she was nowhere near done. I mean, there's no way she was going to get it done in time to display it this year, but that she just enjoyed working on things seasonally. So in the autumn, she likes working on autumn projects, and in the winter, she likes working on winter projects. And I thought that makes a lot of sense, because in knitting, there's a fair amount of, like, if you want to have a warm woolly jumper to wear, you need to start it towards the end of summer. If you want to have a light t-shirt to wear, you kind of need to start it in January, unless you're in the southern hemisphere. And so, but in the summer, you kind of want to work on lightweight things that are fun to wear in this, like, that's when you're feeling it. So I think that for me is really a thing, is I want to work on seasonal projects in the season, and then hopefully just have them. I can still hear. I can't get this clear. I'm going to say goodbye. I don't know if you noticed, the sun just came out right here. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the 10th of November. That's how high the sun is. Anywho, I hope to talk to you later. Talk to you in 2 weeks. Thank you. Bye.